right now, this is our job. Okay, we have 4 of us.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. I wish I could ring a bell and tell them to show up.
Wish we had a buzzer that shot.
That would be good. I've threatened a sheepdog. We're nipping at the heels.
On our cell phones.
Yeah, want to give me 10 seconds?
Do you
Hello.
want
Good
want
morning.
me? Good morning.
How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. You're not in my parking space. What? We've got to get the broadband bill out.
I've heard.
Yes.
I've heard.
And then you can have us after that.
Okay.
Does that work?
Yeah, that's fine. Can I ask you, Jack?
Yes. I just spoke to Sarah and asked if they would be available at 1 o'clock.
You're the best. Thank you.
The fee or the revenue? Revenue bill.
She said specifically revenue.
Yes, that's what we're setting up.
I'm trying to decide.
Hello.
I'm out from under those 2 bills, hopefully. All right. Where is everybody?
Digging up his,
I know Sorokin was upstairs.
Yeah,
They
but he should,
I've seen Campions in,
natural?
oh yeah, natural, yeah.
he said he was coming, I just passed him.
Here he is, okay. Does anyone know where Becca is?
Well, Madam Chair, yeah, we were just told, but they must have it wrong, that, remember, we were gonna have a meeting at 9 AM in the Pro Tem's office. But I guess
I
that was,
just told them that they
Oh,
want
okay.
this bill out by 9:30. They can have us after we do our job.
I'm gonna tell Peter Sterling that Ann Cummings owns
No, I
meetings
just
till
told him in
9:30.
person.
Oh, okay.
I have not gotten the Bill Doyle, he never taught me how to be 2 places at once. I have not learned that skill.
The master.
He was a master. He never taught me. Must be partisan. I'm here. And Senator Kitchell caught me in the hall and said she understood that we needed money for the local TV, Laura Glenn Davidian. And she said, she talked to Stephanie and they pulled it out. So she has money, which means I don't think we need to
Yeah, that's
send it to
well,
joint
there's spending
energy.
in here. Oh,
Okay. I thought the problem was they didn't have money. That's why I need Becca. That there was no
Sorry.
money in the budget to do what they
Yeah, I'll
were
tell you.
originally, what we originally set them up to do in whatever bill we did that in.
We're talking about the study for the.
The local
pay.
TV, yeah. So that telecase.
But that's not why the bill itself still has to go
I believe so,
there,
yes.
for sure.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, she just said to tell us we have money, so we don't have to worry about it. And that's why I need Becca.
I just texted you.
Can you text Becca?
Yeah.
Tell Becca that we need her because we're doing the local access TV thing.
You,
All right, so let's start on the rest of it.
Maria Royal with Legislative Council, so you should have draft 1.2 of the proposed finance strike all amendment. And we'll go through all of the changes are in bold. The new sections, I just bolded the section heading so as not to have, just because it's a little bit easier to read. And then also if there were edits to some of the new sections, those are in bold. But we'll go through it and just make sure
Okay.
it's consistent with what you asked for. So no changes to the findings. The first changes start on page 4. Sections 2 and 3, and this is in connection with the proposed rate increase to the universal service charge. The House proposed 0.5%. I think you decided you wanted to not raise money for the high cost program. but to raise about the same amount of money for the connectivity initiative. So if you impose a rate of 0.3%, that raises $900,000. If you subtract the 120 for the personnel, that's on page 5, that leaves you with $780,000 specifically for connectivity initiative.
Okay.
And the House proposal was 760, so
Close
$20,000
enough.
more. And so those are the changes that are reflected here. Again, no money for high cost, smaller rate increase. No changes to the speed requirements proposed by the House for the high cost connectivity initiative.
Yep.
So the next change, though, I'm now jumping ahead, you'll see at the bottom of page 10. This is the new Broadband Innovation Grant Program administered by the Department of Public Service. I think you wanted to specify, you can see on page 11, lines 4 through 6, that any projects envisioned under this program should
Innovation.
provide broadband service that is capable of speeds of at least 100 megabits per second symmetrical. So increasing the speed requirement for that program. Then jumping ahead, I think you've already approved, I'm on page 13. This is the feasibility study. So the language that's bolded on page 13, lines 12.
That's right there.
That's the proposed these amendments. I think you already approved those yesterday, so. So then, jumping ahead to the, let's see, this will be, section 13, which starts on page 15. But this has to do with, municipalities being able to enter some kind of public-private partnership. So looking on page 17 is the new subsection F that the House proposed. And I think you were generally okay with authorizing municipalities to enter into these partnerships where the private entity might own the communications, but I think you wanted to specify, looking at lines 11 through 13 on page 17, the terms of such a partnership shall specify that the owner.
You got a typo there.
Okay.
That.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome.
That the owner of the communications plant shall be responsible for debt service.
Is there a possibility that there could be some form of joint ownership or partnership ownership of the facility?
Is that?
Yeah, I would think, right? But
I think it's
wouldn't that be
broadly
covered?
written enough.
Is it broadly written enough that it would cover that situation? I mean, would they create an entity to own it as opposed to a partner? Presumably an entity would then be the owner?
Well, if you want to be perfectly clear, you could say, contract with the private entity to own or jointly own, to make it even
Well-
more explicit.
That relates to something I've been wondering about since then, but let's clear up this question. So you're saying, what if the municipality is part owner?
Suppose they own 25%, the private owner owns 75%.
Right.
It would seem to me that the owner should proportionately share in the responsibility for the debt service.
And this is more vague.
Yeah, which is why- And again, this may be good enough, but that's I would think that should be the
Yeah,
intent.
yeah, I think it would be.
But
The
that's-
question is the wording sufficient to do that?
Well, maybe I will add something I've been thinking about, if I might. Because I'd heard about a telecom approaching a municipality and sort of saying, we'll get you fiber, you pay us, but then it'll be ours, but we'll get your people fiber. And that, and you know, and I'll just be frank, I'm chafed, I remain chafed with Burlington Telecom since that we sold this thing. So I was wondering about just adding up on line 6, may contract with a private entity to co-own, operate, or manage. Is this the
Page
same
17.
section?
Thank you.
So co-own, in other words, not, again, maybe you're a 10% owner, but you're not, you're making it clear that we're only authorizing municipality to truly partner, not give away the asset, but we're being very broad. And then if you linked in there, then the owner of then our language about on line 12 would make clear that in some way, the city, the municipality is a part owner. And I don't know if that.
But there may be some towns that don't want that.
Mhm.
I can definitely
Well,
see that
sure.
in my own, but so you could say own, co-own, operate, give it as a.
Well,
as
but
a-
the point is, there's a limit to what I can support, and that is drawn at tax dollars going to pay for Consolidated's fiber network in the town that they own. Right, in terms of this, I think we should be somewhat protective of municipalities, and we let them partner, we're letting them go forward, but we're insisting that they not just offer a blanket subsidy of tax, this is about bonding capacity, this is about.
I think these are revenues, revenue
Revenue
bonds,
bonds.
technically.
But it's a little extreme, right, for us to use municipalities' revenue bonding capacity to just wholesale facilitate private companies to build out. And
Well,
I don't know.
I'm inclined not to tie the hands of a municipality. We're in the end of this bill telling municipalities to sell things and put tax money in to deliver subservice. You have to have a vote. And I can see where either you want cell service, and it costs extra to get fiber out there. Town wants the fiber, so it's not cost effective for a business. The town can do a municipal joint thing, or they can decide, okay, whatever commercial company, you put up the fiber, and individuals will have to decide if they pay the added cost of getting that fiber strung and out to their house, or the town can decide they want to socialize that cost and use tax dollars to cover the cost. I don't want to build off of one experience in one town and say, I'm just remembering that municipal bond, didn't we just vote to allow the towns to set the time of their town meeting? That was one of the charter changes yesterday. I'm just kind of not, this is a new world. I'm not quite prepared to put
Even if there
limits.
are towns that really don't want to have the ownership responsibility
Yes.
in terms of the long-term commitment for
Yes.
maintenance and support
Right.
and all that.
Sure, and there are utilities that are dying to have taxpayer-backed
Yeah.
revenue bonds.
Yeah.
Agreed.
And so there needs to be a little protection, I think, for, in 20 years, we're still gonna be using these things. And it just doesn't make sense to me to have the municipality put its faith and credit into building somebody else's network. This is a public-private partnership, and I would look for just some insurance that it's a partnership and not a giveaway. And, and it comes up here, we're trying to say at the bottom, that the House's language was that the private internet service provider shall guarantee the bond and be responsible for debt service.
Right, if they own
We're contemplating that the municipality might be a part owner here. That's where we started looking at the language of owner. And it doesn't seem harmful to put a little border on what a partnership looks like, that there would need to be a municipality ownership stake.
Well, I guess one of the questions is from the private provider's standpoint, does a private provider want to go in business with a municipality on the one hand? On the other hand, does the municipality want the long-term responsibility of ownership, maintenance, and all the rest? And it could go, you know, we're kind of predicting how the future will work. I'd be comfortable with saying own or co-own or manage but to provide those. I'm
Well,
just
that
concerned
doesn't
about
change
shutting out the
anything.
options.
Own or co-own is, if you insist on co-own, that doesn't add anything. We say co-own or own. I mean, I guess I'd like to better understand what we mean when we say public-private
I was
partnership.
gonna ask if that was defined in the statute.
I don't believe
I
so.
mean, it's a feel-good word around here.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm right
Often
here,
means a corporate
enter
giveaway.
into a contract or,
Each one of those things is typically something that's individually negotiated and is unique, as opposed to you know, fitting into any standard set of terminology.
legislation we passed here about 3 or 4 years ago, which enabled this cooperative arrangement, was very specific that the towns were not indebted, there were no liens for the bonds, and that was the.
These are revenue bonds, they are not the full faith and credit of the
Correct.
town, so
And
the revenues are on the hook.
A couple of the towns that had signed up for EC fiber at the beginning backed out because
I'm
they
gonna ban
feared.
the word EC fiber.
The first fiber cooperative that was established, a couple of towns exited because they feared that they were gonna be on the hook holding the lien if the thing went belly up. The cooperative does, the municipal cooperative that government operations vetted for about a week, and we passed out here about 3 years ago, does not put the towns on the hook with a lien. And I don't know if this language is authorizing
It's
such.
not authorizing general obligation bonds.
At all.
And I don't know
What
what a
is
private
it?
partnership
It's
is,
all-
other than what half of us say in every sentence that sound like we're knowledgeable, so.
So it's not changing the financing. Under existing law, you can issue revenue bonds for communications plans. And none of the investments are borne by the municipal taxpayers, they're only revenue bonds. There was some
What-
question,
Well, so what does an F accomplish?
so there was some question about, the statute says that a municipality may own or operate a communications plant. It's not clear whether they can enter into a partnership where they don't actually own it, but they contract.
They contract,
So this was intended, depending on how you read the statute, to either clarify or to give additional authority to enter into this type of arrangement.
And do you, I guess one of the risks I see is that you sort of end up having a municipally backed monopoly. That's one thing if the municipality and residents have an ownership stake. I think I would look differently at that than some deals worked out with the select board. Voters are asked, should we put some money in a revenue bond, which we're never gonna be on the hook for, so we all get high-speed internet? I think people would be pretty enthusiastic about that. So, could you see this as setting up a place where you sort of back into municipally blessed monopoly?
I don't know the answer to that.
it's, you know, we've got small towns that we can't get anything to. I think whoever goes in there, including our first municipally owned or corporately owned thing, pretty much has a monopoly because it's not cost effective for anyone else to go in there at this point. I'm sorry, but in Montpelier, there's only one provider, and there's a different provider in Barry of cable service.
So when towns agreed to work with EC Fiber, what did that mean for those towns? Did they put up money? Did they put up revenue bonds? Did they?
Zero vote.
Yeah, what?
In the beginning, they agreed to have this organization, organize in the towns and do the best they could. Then we passed a law that gave them a cooperative standing that enabled them to go to Wall Street and bond at a lower rate, and that's when things.
Enabled the telecom.
The first,
H.513.
the first fiber company to organize.
Yeah.
And I think that is what Central Vermont Fiber and the Northeast England Fiber are trying to copy.
But this is different in that we're explicitly granting authority to work in a business arrangement between municipal government and a
All
telecom.
right, we have 10 minutes to get
And
this
that's
bill
a
out of
big
here.
step, is that I was proposed that you wanna do this. And then we've had representatives in here representing the municipal electric companies. And it strikes me as being kind of a similar situation, and I would like to review the benefits that those electric companies provide for the citizens.
Sure.
And the
And-
complications they provide for our
Okay.
grid before I sign on to.
But electricity
that.
is, other than it's
Copy
a
that model.
utility,
Yeah.
electricity is electricity is electricity.
And it's a monopoly, and it's owned by the people
And
of
it's-
those municipalities, that's the point.
According to
So-
revenue bonds. They can only
But-
issue revenue bonds.
You don't have competitive municipal utilities, electric utilities, they are monopolies, and they're owned by the people. That is kind of the concern here, is that it's a weird edit, I don't
I
pretend
would
to
like to
understand.
know
I would love to
the
see
benefits
co-homes.
and shortcomings of replicating something that is similar in this area before
As
I
this
endorse it, but I could be missing something.
stands, because this is gonna go to conference. We've got an issue we wanna talk about. But I don't think we're gonna solve it here. I think when this started, it was to give as much flexibility to municipalities to perhaps set up a system, some
Works
kind
for
of.
them.
That works for them. I think we're anticipating all the problems and trying to figure out how to prevent some of the problems, which at this point are somewhat in our imaginations. None of these may come to fruition. I think we've got a few towns, tend to be our more wealthy or second hometowns that have done this kind of fiber. And they have contracted, I'm trying to remember the gentleman's name, but he testified.
Yes.
Remember,
Yeah,
they
yeah.
attend, and they contracted with him
Mhm.
to provide that service in the town. Now, how big does he have to get before we consider him one of the bad guys? I think this is such an evolving technology that if it starts to look like it's going south, we can
Old reins.
pull, we can.
So
pull
I,
it.
So I'm offering an amendment that line 6, we just make it entity
Yeah.
to co-own, operate, or manage, so they could just operate, they could
That's
just
what
manage.
they're doing
But
with
if
the
there's
one
ownership, then it
gentleman.
would be co-owned.
Rather than these.
and then that is, if that's a sticking point for the House, we can talk about it in conference committee.
Fine.
Are you okay with that, Madam Chair? Just
Yeah.
put
So
code.
we can just keep this moving,
I
although
want
I
to
disagree
keep
with
this
him, I
moving.
appreciate where we're trying to get to, so,
Okay.
so the co-own.
And then the owner or owners of the plant shall be responsible for debt service.
I think that
As
addresses some of what we were
applicable.
talking about.
Okay.
As applicable.
Go on to,
We can make it clear in practice that co-ownership could mean that the municipality owns 1%.
Yeah. So I'm not,
Starting
Right.
I'm not getting
point.
much over here, I'll take it.
So then, with respect to the VITA the loan program,
Yeah.
broadband expansion loan program, which starts on page 18, but the changes are on page 19. Subdivision A, lines 5 and 6, I think you wanted to increase the maximum loan amount from 1.8 to 4 million. And then you also wanted to specify, you wanted to increase the speed requirements from 25 to 100, symmetrical. And then I believe, turning to page 20, I think you wanted to strike the percentage requirements
Yeah.
and just leave it up to the departments, unserved and underserved.
Yep.
And I did check with the department, I wasn't sure, you had asked about if there are definitions in statute, and there are with respect to the connectivity initiative, unserved and underserved. And my understanding is the telecom plan generally tracks those definitions as well, so those are pretty much this generally applicable definitions, and that's 4-1, less than 4-1 for unserved.
So that was pretty much, it was the percentage of the
That's
town
taken
that,
out,
yeah, that,
Okay.
that could be problematic, all right.
So then, moving on, section 19 starts on page 23, but the change is on page 24. I believe what you wanted to do, you had some suggested language about complex pole attachments on line 4. And rather than being very prescriptive, I think you wanted to specify that the commission shall consider measures requiring, et cetera. And then on line 18, and shall also consider whether a utility should pay interest to the applicant. So just, it's no longer
I did
prescriptive.
get some feedback from the utilities that if they'd known we were gonna do this, they have things they'd like to have considered too. Like, it's different if you want 9,000 poles moved.
Right.
Or 9.
Right.
But isn't the schedule get set through some proceedings?
I think
The
just that we
completion
did give
period.
some,
There are.
precedent or some special consideration to one utility or provider. It happens to be community owned. Okay. I'm
Then
trusting the board can take care of it.
on page 25, this is with respect to the rental calculation for pole attachments, the 1 foot, 2 foot, there's an existing rulemaking proceeding. So subsection C on page 25 just references that proceeding. And then the second sentence, the commission shall complete this proceeding and file a final proposed rule on or before June 1st, 2020, as opposed to December 1st when they're doing all the other pole attachment rules. Page 26, section 20A, this was a statement of legislative intent. There was just that one change to reference generation of technology.
Okay, that's right.
Section 22, these were the amendments that came from Senator Brock. There are no changes from that language that you reviewed.
But they're all changes.
Section,
bill isn't
these are all
changed.
changes to the bill, but no revisions to the language you reviewed.
Right.
Same for sections 23, which is the plan scheduling requirements. Section 24 on page 34, the health report on RF emissions. And page 35, section 25, the reporting requirement for E911 power outages for E911. No changes.
That's still like a collection of data information.
Yep.
Great.
Yep, just wanted to make sure everything was
Yep,
in
just wanted to-
here.
yep, thank you.
Section 26, no changes, but this is the existing workshop on backup power for the VoIP, basically, services. That's in here.
Is there a date in there?
Yes,
Yeah,
on
December 15th. I see it.
December 15th. Yep. So then you kind of left this as a placeholder and we were going to discuss it, section 27 about the pay
Right,
access.
and Senator Ballard, I saw Senator Kitchell, she said they have money,
Okay.
which they will pull out. So does that was the issue with putting this in here?
That my understanding was that they didn't have money for a work group.
Right.
And so we
And-
have work group, language that we can drop in there if there's money that she can find, or you say,
She said she has found the money.
she's found the money, great. And so, and it sounds like, Joint Information Technology Committee is not the right one. And so I can get with Maria,
Okay, but we're supposed to, this has to be on the floor so we can pass it.
Could
So
we-
we've gotta get a clean copy out
yep,
there.
so,
What if we voted on this and then did it as a floor amendment?
We can do that.
you can do that, that sounds good. And I can
Okay.
get with Maria while we're on the.
All right, and then-
Cloakroom briefly.
Because it's gotta go to a club, so we gotta.
Yep, I got
Yeah,
it.
okay.
Yep.
And the Probst can actually do that. So let's
That's
just
right.
vote this out like this and let a Probst take it out.
Okay, but I wanna make sure that's really gonna happen. And
Yeah.
so,
You have
Yeah,
You
that.
feel like-
if they don't do it, we'll do it on the floor.
super,
Yeah.
just wanna have that agreement
You
on
have,
record.
you have Mark's word.
Yes.
We have Sorokin's.
Yes, Sorokin.
Okay, great, so no rush, we'll get that ready.
Okay.
Okay,
Thank you.
So
wonderful.
would we call this 1.3?
Yes.
All right, and we've got that one change around the municipal.
Ownership and
Ownership.
taking out the, hey, access
They
language.
got the, okay.
No,
And then
I thought
we're
we
gonna leave it in.
Leaving
We're
it,
gonna
We
leave
just
it.
got that
Steady
one
group.
change.
Okay.
but we'll probably change them.
We'll update it.
Right, but
Yeah.
leave it in, so-
We'll leave it in, yep, the house can take, yeah, they can take it out. All right, the important thing is we gotta
So
get
then I would
it, they gotta
move
have it in their
Draft
possession up there.
1.3,
Yes.
to the bill. I would move that we amend H.513 with draft 1.3.
All right, further discussion. If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. That is 601, and that was to amend, now to approve.
I move we approve H.513 as amended.
All right. Further discussion. If not, all those in favor say aye. Opposed, say no. Motion carried. Senator Brock, would you like to report this one? And as soon as Maria changes that word and gets a clean copy, if you bring it upstairs, we did that with, was it Family League?
Yes.
To pass it, they have to have it in hand, so we'll get it up there. I'll let Boomer know it's on its way.
And who's gonna make the motion pending entrance? We refer it.
That's usually me, as chair, so I'll tell Bloomer
Great.
that I need the script.
Hey, committee, right?
Holy smokes.
Okay, now we have
Have a
about
drink
5 committees at
Have a
conference.
drink.
Yeah, drink, yeah, open the champagne, it's 9:30 in the morning.
No, tonight.
All right, we're now moving upstairs.
What's that?
Sure, I think I have a meeting on
Language
this.
that we copy up.
Where's he going?
Yeah,
All right.
I think it's great.